You know, when you're caring for someone you love, mealtimes can turn into this total battleground. It's just so stressful and overwhelming, right? But what if we've been looking at this whole struggle completely wrong? Today, let's try to reframe it.
I bet this sounds familiar. They won't touch their vegetables. You spend all this time making a nice, balanced meal, and that whole green section of the plate just sits there, untouched. It is so frustrating. Or hey, maybe this is more your reality. They only want carbs. You know, the bread, the potatoes, the crackers, those safe foods. And you're worried sick about nutrition, but you're also just thinking, well, at least they're eating something, right?
And then there's this one, and this one is just terrifying. They gag when I give them protein. Suddenly, a moment that's supposed to be about nourishment and care turns into a moment of pure fear for both of you. It can leave you feeling absolutely helpless.
Okay, so take a deep breath. What if I told you that none of it, is about being stubborn or difficult? What if those actions aren't defiance, they're communication? They're a message. And today, we are going to learn how to decode that message loud and clear. So here's the absolute key. To get anywhere, we first have to stop seeing this as a battle of wills. It's not about stubbornness. We need to put on our detective hats, you and I. We've got to understand the real why behind the food refusal.
So what's really going on under the surface? Well, it usually boils down to one of these 5 things. First, sensory changes. As we age, our taste buds can fade, which can make some foods taste way too strong or just blah. Then there's memory-driven preference loss. They might honestly not remember that they used to love broccoli. There could also be pain or discomfort. Think about it. Ill-fitting dentures, a sore in their mouth, that would stop anyone from eating. Next is fear-based avoidance. Maybe they had a scary choking incident once. And finally, you've got emotional or environmental triggers. A chaotic, noisy room, yeah, that can completely shut down an appetite.
Okay, so how in the world do you figure out which one of those it is? The good news is you don't need a medical degree for this. Your very first step is just to observe, to watch. And I've got a really simple, fantastic tool to help you do just that.
It's called the E.A.T.S check. And don't worry, this isn't some complicated test. It's just a simple guide to help you observe over a few meals. It's E.A.T.S. E is for ease, A is for aroma, T is for temperature, and S is for shape and size. Simple, right?
All right, let's break this E.A.T.S check down. First up, E for ease of eating. Just watch. What textures do they seem to handle the best? Are soft foods like applesauce way easier than something chewy like a piece of steak? Do you see them kind of pause or hesitate with certain textures? That right there, that's your first huge clue about what's physically comfortable for them.
Next up, A for aroma. You know how the smell of baking bread can just make you instantly hungry? Well, our sense of smell is so powerfully linked to appetite. So watch them. Does the smell of something warm and savory like a soup seem to draw them in? Or do really strong smells, maybe like fish, make them physically turn their head away before the plate even gets near them? Pay attention to that.
Then we have T for temperature. Now this one is so simple, but we overlook it all the time. Do they seem to prefer warm foods? Is a warm soup more comforting, easier for them to swallow? Or maybe they actually prefer something cold and crisp because it feels more refreshing, or even safer. Just watch their reaction.
And finally, S for shape and size. Think about it. A big, honking piece of meat on a fork can look really overwhelming, maybe even a little scary. So do they do better with smaller, more manageable spoonfuls? Would shredding the meat or cutting things into tiny bite-sized pieces make the whole plate feel less threatening? It's a huge deal. Okay, so you've done your E.A.T.S check, you've been the detective, and now you have some really valuable clues. So, now what? Well, now we move from watching to doing, from observation to action. But, and this is so important, this is not about forcing anything. This is what we call an invitation-based progression. It's all about gently and respectfully helping them expand their diet. And lucky for us, there's a clear, respectful roadmap for this. 6 simple steps. Number 1, you start with what's called a neighbor food, something that's super similar to a food they already like and eat. 2, you only introduce just one, new thing at a time. 3, use microbites. I'm talking pea-sized, super tiny. 4, pair that new food with one of their absolute favorites to make it feel safer. 5, and this is huge, celebrate any progress. Even if they just smell it or touch it, that's a win.
And number 6, the golden rule, never, ever rush. You let them set the pace. Their body language is going to tell you everything you need to know.
So let's talk about that neighbor food idea for a second. Here's a perfect example. Let's say mashed potatoes are a total comfort food for them. They love them, they feel safe. Instead of trying to jump all the way to, I don't know, steamed broccoli, a perfect neighbor would be mashed sweet potatoes. See? The texture is almost the same, it looks similar, it's a small, totally manageable step.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds really nice and compassionate, but does it actually work? Well, let's take a look at a real-life success story that shows just how powerful these gentle steps can be.
Okay, so let's meet Miss L. Her diet had become really, really limited. We're talking pretty much only soft carbs like bread and pudding. And as you can imagine, her caregivers were worried. They knew she wasn't getting the protein her body needed to stay strong. So what did her care team do? They did an assessment, basically their own version of our E.A.T.S check, and the clues they found were absolutely critical. They discovered that soft textures felt safe to her, but the texture of meat, that was causing actual fear. And they noticed that warm, fragrant foods really helped to spark her appetite. See, this wasn't guesswork anymore. This was real data they could work with. And armed with those clues, they built a plan. Now, they didn't just plop a chicken breast on her plate, no way. They started with a warm egg custard. It was soft, it had protein, and it wasn't threatening at all. From there, they slowly moved to soft scrambled eggs. A couple weeks later, they introduced a blended chicken soup, so she got the flavor of chicken without that scary texture. It took six full weeks before they could successfully introduce just a few small bites of shredded chicken. It was slow, it was respectful, and you know what? It was successful. So if you take away just one thing from all of this, please let it be this. Food refusal is not a battle of wills that you have to win. It's a message. It is your loved one communicating, hey, something here, the texture, the smell, the size of this, it just doesn't feel right to me right now.
And that leaves us with one final and I think really empowering question. From now on, instead of asking yourself, how can I get them to eat this? Try shifting your focus. Try asking, what is their behavior trying to tell me? Because really listening for that answer, well, that might just change everything.